Hey guys, just a couple corrections I want to make before we start the show. Around 28 minutes in, I say Leonard Snart stars as Captain Cold. Um, I meant Wentworth Miller. Leonard Snart is the alter ego of Captain Cold. About 36 minutes in, I say Justice League Doom is the Justice League movie where Kara's origin story is examined, but it's really Superman, Batman Apocalypse. And then around 45 minutes in, after I say Chris Evans in regards to actors moving on, I say Tony Stark when I meant Robert Downey Jr. And then a little over an hour in, when I can't think of Caitlin Snow's character, it's Killer Frost. Okay, thank you and enjoy the show. Alright, guys, welcome to the Awesome Sunday Show. This is our first inaugural podcast, basically. I'm Pat.
I'm Connor.
Okay, so really what we're going to be doing throughout all our episodes is, for now, mainly talking about the MCU and its TV shows, and then the DCU TV shows and animated movies. And then, we'll take different episodes in between then to talk about different stuff and maybe video games or whatever down the line.
Pretty much anything like entertainment-wise, but for now, we're just sticking to MCU and DCU.
Yeah, we're going to make this available on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, basically anywhere that we can do it, and we'll put links to all that stuff in the description once we upload this. And we're going to try and make this like a weekly thing if we can, but if shit comes up, then maybe
we'll try our best.
Yeah, maybe like every 2 weeks, or maybe we'll release 2 episodes to make up for the previous release that we missed. So yeah, just give us a break, because this is our first podcast we're ever doing.
We're podcast virgins.
Yes, and my cherry has just been popped.
My butt cherry has been popped.
That's long been popped.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, so today what we're going to talk about first, we'll talk about the end of Marvel's Phase 2, and then where the MCU is heading in the future.
All right. I guess the first question to start off with is, how did you feel about Avengers Age of Ultron?
I thought it was really good.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, spoilers, obviously, about all the stuff we're going to be talking about. It was good. I think it was as good as the first Avengers, but there was really a lot going on, and I wish that they kept it to the original, 3.5 hour length. So maybe if they released, a director's cut on DVD, a lot more stuff would make sense.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Not trying to go off track, but that's the same thing that happened to Prometheus. The theatrical version was cut a lot, and a lot of crap in the movie just didn't make sense. And I feel the same way about Avengers 2. Mm-hmm. And I like the first one a lot more. I still think the second one's badass. Mm-hmm. And it definitely is sending the MCU in a good direction. But as just as a movie singly by itself, kind of not the strongest movie in the MCU, in my opinion.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the best, but it was still strong, compared to certain movies like the Thors, the first Captain America and stuff.
Yeah.
But it sets up a lot for Phase 3. And, there'll still be stuff to be answered, because Ant-Man is technically the end of Phase 2, even though it comes after Age of Ultron. But there's supposed to be ties in Ultron into Ant-Man, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm really curious about Ant-Man, because I feel like even though the Avengers movies are technically, or I guess not with Ant-Man, are technically the end of the phases, you'll really start to see where Phase 3 goes with Ant-Man, even though that is the end of Phase 2.
Yeah, I don't think it really made sense to either consider Ant-Man Phase 2 or to put it after the Avengers. I feel like if they want it after the Avengers, just have it as the start of Phase 3.
Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing, though. I mean, they've been doing a hell of a job. I mean, when Iron Man 3 is your worst movie, you're doing a really, really good job.
Yeah, because all our friends who really don't understand comics or don't read on them thought it was an amazing movie. And it wasn't a bad movie, it's just they fucked up.
Yeah. As a movie, Iron Man 3 is good. It's just, I hated the decisions that they made, personally.
Yeah, that having the Mandarin be fake was bullshit. Although Ben Kingsley did do well. It's just that idea. But there was a Marvel one shot, which is kind of like a short film that they usually release after every few movies. I don't know if they have released one yet, but it was about the Ten Rings, and it shows Ben Kingsley's character in jail and then getting interviewed by some random guy, and then as the film comes to a close, the guy shows off his Ten Rings tattoo and said the Mandarin sends his regards, and then whips out a baton, and then it just cuts to black, which I think that is not a bad idea, but they'll probably never acknowledge that again.
No, yeah, and it's kind of like, I feel it's kind of a cop out. It's kind of like, all right, like we'll see how this blows over, because they knew they were gonna piss off people.
Yeah,
They knew it.
I was really disappointed that Jon Favreau left. I mean, I get why he did because of the amount of pressure that the Marvel execs put on him, and
Same reason why Joss Whedon won't do Avengers 3.
yeah, and plus the directors and the actors too in Marvel get paid shit, especially when they're first starting out. I'm sure he would have got more money, but I mean, just the disappointment of Iron Man 2 probably contributed to him leaving for 3.
Yeah, I don't know. Iron Man 2 is another movie with like weird editing. Like you watch that movie and like way too much, like there's so much cutting to certain stuff. That's one thing Iron Man 3 does have over Iron Man 2, is that the movie flows so much better.
Yeah.
Whereas Iron Man 2, it's like, weren't we just like in Moscow? Whoa, wait, where are we now? Like,
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense. And you know what? They could have chosen a better villain than
Whiplash.
fucking Whiplash. I mean, not that Mickey Rourke did a bad job, but
I don't know, man.
for me, the highlight of that movie was Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
He was such a boss, but the movie itself was just
I don't know. Like when I see
the
Whiplash, it's like I feel like I'm watching like an S&M movie. Like just something like really screwed up. I'm like, is this guy a villain, or is he like gonna like? Is there like a safe word for him to
and
stop?
you know what?
Like
Iron Man has much better villains than him. I don't know why they chose Whiplash.
they choose the crappiest villains though. That's
Yeah, I mean, like,
and they choose one great villain and he sucks.
yeah, in Iron Man 1, like, they chose Obadiah Stane, and that was great. Like, the whole battle with that was great. And then the Mandarin had so much promise, and then they kind of blew it with the extremist thing.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't even have minded if they didn't make the Mandarin have any powers. That's fine. Like, because I was like, all right, then he's like, if he's like, it makes sense, like, in these times to, like, have a villain that, like, is, like, a terrorist, considering, like, what we've been through since 9/11. So I was like, all right, take, like, one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Significant villains in Iron Man.
Yeah, he's definitely Iron Man's top villain of all time.
Yeah,
basically.
like give him that political power that he normally has, and then maybe add some terrorist aspect to it. I'm like, all right, because I'm all for like changing things up, like
yeah, you got to give him some freedoms.
yeah,
but
exactly.
something like that was just, they kind of make him like a fool.
Yeah, it's just oh god, it was bad.
And even if they wanted to have like Guy Pearce be the actual Mandarin in disguise, like, be like, oh, the Mandarin was just a fake. I made him up. I'm the real Mandarin. Here's my extremist.
Yeah, it just was. That's another cop out. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, so how can we not make Iron Man fans like really not mad at us? And it's like you really couldn't have done anything. you
Yeah,
know?
like they could have had Guy Pearce pretend to be like the Mandarin's second in command, and then turned out to be the real Mandarin, whether with occult powers or anything, or just the leader of the Ten Rings, kind of like they did in Batman Begins when they had Bruce Wayne thinking that Asian guy was
and that
Ra's al Ghul,
worked.
and then turns out to be Liam Neeson. Yeah, that worked.
And I like how you said Raish, because that's actually how it's pronounced. In that whole movie, they say Raz,
I know,
and it pisses me off.
On Arrow, they call him Raz, except for Stephen Amell, who plays Oliver Queen. Every now and then he'll go from Raz to Raish, but Ra's al Ghul himself in this show calls him Ra's al Ghul, and then so does his daughter Nissa.
And if you watch the DC animated movie, I think it's Under the Red Hood. They pronounce it Raish the whole movie.
Yeah, it's that he's in a couple too. He's in Son of Batman, and I think they say
I haven't
Raish
seen
also.
that one yet. Yeah.
It's really good.
But anyway, back to the MCU. What I'm trying to this is the one thing I'm a little scared of for Phase 3. And not like scared, but like kind of like I really hope they don't do it. When you see the decisions, Iron Man 3 was hugely successful. critically and commercially too.
Yeah, it
So
made a crap ton of money.
like when you get like it's Kevin Feige, Kevin Feige, like he definitely looks at that and said, okay, we made the right decision financially and critically. They made the right decision. So what decisions, that success, what is that going to impact them to do?
Well, I think
in
along
phase three?
along with obviously making money, like that's a huge thing. But he also needs to plan it out so that every movie after that makes sense. You got to make sure that Iron Man 3 will fit into the grand scheme of things of Avengers 2. Well, they're not having another Iron Man planned yet, but
They'll do
for
another
Avengers
movie.
2 and then for Civil War and stuff. But apparently Kevin Feige has Marvel movies up to 2028 planned out.
Yeah.
And we already have the outline up to 2019, which to think of another 9 years after that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, like, and how long can you do that for? I mean, the guy's probably a gazillionaire, so he doesn't, he can do this for the rest of his life. I guess, yeah, like, they've done it right most of the part so far. They've done a great job, and I can't really think of really any plot holes between movies. I mean, there's plot holes in the movies sometimes, but
yeah, they overlap pretty well.
Yeah, they overlap very well. So it's not that part that I'm really worried about. I guess it's just the decisions. But then, yet again, the main bad guy, Thanos, they've been doing great with so far, which really was where it counts.
Yeah, I mean, they kept him really low-key. Like, the most we saw him was in Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's a pretty good introduction. I'm glad that Josh Brolin is going to be Thanos. I think he's going to be great at it.
That couldn't have been a better decision. You think of you think of actors, like you think of like, all right, like what's his name that played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings?
Oh, Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen. He did a great job as Aragorn. But then like you think of like what other actors could do it? You think like, all right, Daniel Day-Lewis. I think even like Brad Pitt probably could have did a good job. Like you think of other actors, like you can't think of a better actor than Josh Brolin for Thanos.
Yes, I think he's perfect. He's got the right attitude. He has the right type of presence, and his voice just fits.
Yeah.
What, like when I read Thanos's quotes in the comics, like that voice just fits so well.
Yeah, it's like Kevin Conroy as Batman. When I read the comics, I think of Kevin Conroy's voice. No matter what comic I read, it could be like a cartoon Batman, like a cartoony, and I still think Kevin Conroy. Yeah. And so yeah, you're right. And now when I think of Thanos and I read Thanos quotes and I read Thanos in a comic, I think of the voice from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean they really nailed that down, and they're gonna have a lot of opportunity between Civil War and Infinity War to really build upon him even more, and like even in Guardians 2, I'm sure he'll be more heavily featured.
Yeah, he'll probably I think how Captain America really leads into the next Avengers.
Yes,
I think they're gonna switch it up. Because now the next after Ant-Man, it's Captain America Civil War, right?
Yeah, it's Civil War.
I think they're gonna change it. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is gonna lead way more into Avengers 3 because they're obviously gonna team up.
Yeah, if you think about it, that's the last movie before Infinity War, anyway.
Yeah, it is. That's right.
But I think that obviously Civil War is going to be huge for the MCU going forward, but I don't think it'll be with Thanos. I think it's going to be about the heroes themselves and how the world basically is sick of their shit, and somebody needs to be held responsible, and it's going to end up being the superheroes. And then I think Thanos will get more introduction in Thor Ragnarok because I think that's going to deal with the Infinity Stones that we haven't seen yet. Because at the end credit scene of Age of Ultron was Thanos grabbing an Infinity Gauntlet, which was originally locked up in Odin's vault. So I don't know if Loki gave it to him or if he somehow had another one constructed.
Yeah, that's another thing where it's like, the movies do overlap extremely well. So like, how did he get it? Because you see it in that shot in Thor 1.
Yeah.
Like barely. Like I had to go on Google Images and look for it. But
yeah, it's so subtle, but you knew it was in a protective vault on Asgard.
Right.
But maybe since Loki took over Odin's position, is disguised himself as Odin, maybe Thanos visited him knowing he was alive and demanded that.
Yeah,
so he
almost
wouldn't
maybe
kill him.
To bargain for his life.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, just because he fails at Avengers 1.
Yeah, yeah. But so I think Thor Ragnarok is when we'll see the next Infinity Gem.
I 100% agree. You're not going to see it in like you might see it in Captain Marvel movie, but that's still before.
It's still a whiles away.
Yeah, it's a whiles away.
I think Thor, comes out in 2016, like towards the end. I'm not positive, but I know it's before Captain Marvel for a fact.
All right. Okay. I just real quick. Before we go on. Let's look up the timeline just so we're 100% sure. And we're not just like talking out of our butts.
Yeah. Because it makes sense for it to be in a Captain Marvel movie, but given how Thor in Age of Ultron, he took that like revelation bath or whatever that pool was supposed to be, and he saw all the Infinity Stones, Infinity Gems, whatever you want to call them,
right,
in that sort of like vision. So I think he's the most knowledgeable person about them, or the most knowledgeable hero
Captain Marvel
about them right now.
Is the last movie before Avengers Part 1, or actually no. It's Thor Ragnarok, because I'm looking at Avengers Part 2, Avengers Part 1, and then there's
Infinity Part 1.
Yeah, Infinity War Part 1. After that, it's Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and then Infinity War Part 2. So then there's Marvel's Spider-Man.
We don't know what's going to go on with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
They haven't even cast an actor for that. And
I'm not
they
getting
really
my hopes up.
Want, like, everybody wants him to appear in Civil War. I think he really should make an appearance if Sony wants people to see the next Spider-Man movie, because they really have messed up. They're rebooting it again, which kind of sucks, 'cause I thought Andrew Garfield was a good Spider-Man. He might not have been the best Peter Parker, but I thought he was the best Spider-Man.
Yeah, I agree. But they're never going to cast him again just because he talks so much crap about Sony. Like,
well, you know what? That was well-deserved.
Yeah.
Sony is not run by well-intentioned people. And then, so once he appears in a Marvel movie, then they're going to film a Spider-Man movie. And I wonder if they're going to keep partnering with Sony about it to still have that overlap.
Yeah, they should. Sony should just... I mean, I understand why Sony doesn't want to sell the rights, because they make so much money off Spider-Man. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was garbage, but they still made a crap load of money, and Sony needs it.
Yeah.
I mean, PlayStation, like their video game department is what's making, not even really keeping them afloat, just making them look good.
Yeah, their movie decisions. I mean, I'm glad the head of that stepped down. They got a new one, but she has made some terrible decisions and put so much on the chopping block and on delay.
Yeah,
that people are just losing interest. But I'm glad that with the new Spider-Man movie, Kevin Feige is going to have some input, and Marvel's going to be like co-producing it.
Yeah, so like I'm happy to say when they announced Spider-Man was a part of the MCU,
everybody lost their shit.
I went on IGN that morning, and there was a video that they just put up like everyone in the office screaming like scream, like it was great. I was dying.
Yeah, it was, everybody lost their shit.
Yeah.
And everybody, like, they said he's going to appear in a Marvel movie before he gets his own movie. Yeah, so everybody wants him to appear in Civil War because in the comics he had a huge part of it.
He was like one of the main people.
Yeah.
The main characters.
With the new announcement of Spider-Man being a part of the MCU, at least for one movie, they have acknowledged that a young Peter Parker has been fighting crime in New York City without anybody else knowing it. So he's been active, but like since he's a Sony property, they obviously couldn't do anything about it beforehand.
Yeah, right. And you know what? It's like that doesn't even bother me that much because I mean, you look at Daredevil. Even though Daredevil, we don't really know. We know Daredevil takes place after Avengers 1. And most likely before Avengers 2, and they don't really acknowledge Daredevil in the movies because they didn't really know about the series. Like, they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, he wasn't I guess he was just getting his start after Avengers 1, so that could be why. I mean,
you can do the same explanation for Spider-Man.
Yeah, but Marvel already had Daredevil planned. Like this thing with Sony was kind of like a last minute thing.
Oh, I know what you're saying there, but I'm just talking about within the universe wise, story wise.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for Daredevil to appear in Civil War also, but I'm sure with Daredevil season 2, which I think comes out end of 2016 or
Are they
it's either
filming it?
spring. Yeah, it's either spring of 2016 or fall 2016. I can't remember which, but that'll probably take place either right after Avengers 2 or after Civil War. It really depends on how they want to go with it.
Yeah, I don't know where they would put it, but God, Daredevil's so good.
Yeah, that show was great. But what has me really excited though is they cast Punisher, and it's the actor who played Shane in The Walking
Yeah,
Dead.
I actually just looked at that like yesterday, and he said it was like he said it's a great honor, and that's another perfect casting decision too.
Definitely, he's definitely gonna kick some ass as Frank Castle.
Yeah,
I think they didn't say how many episodes he was going to be in, but I'm sure he'll be, there's only 12, 13 episodes. I'm sure he'll be pretty prominent. And maybe if he's well received, we'll get a Punisher Netflix series in the same vein as Daredevil.
yeah, and like you know what? That's it has to be on Netflix because the more I watch Daredevil, the more I'm like, all right, this only could pass on Netflix because you couldn't have a show like that obviously on network television because you see like Wilson Fisk.
Yeah. The only other place
cut the guy's head off with a door.
The only other place it would work would be on like HBO or something, but it's better on Netflix because, well, obviously you get instant gratification, but then instantly how well it's doing. You don't have to wait week to week for critics to review it.
Yeah.
When Daredevil got released, everybody like lost their shit because of how good it was and how good it is.
I remember like you would see like Rotten Tomatoes like automatically you saw like a 97 or 98%. Like it was just like you saw so many critics like they wouldn't review it episode by episode. They reviewed it by the
entire
season, which is much better because no one really cares because there's if you really think about it, there's so little in an episode. Like imagine if you were like reviewed a Dragon Ball Z episode one by one, it would be like a 2 out of 10 every time. But as a whole series, it's incredible because it all ties in together.
Yeah, you basically have to take it as a 12-hour movie with that series.
Exactly.
Because like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's like a week-to-week event. It's not like the overlap. They kind of do like a recap before it, but the way Daredevil was set up is much more
there's no
cohesive.
filler in Daredevil.
Yeah, exactly.
And
even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like they take a mid-season break and they're gone for like 4 or 5 months so they can go back and, make sure they're still consistent and everything. They haven't lost any storyline.
Yeah.
But Daredevil was such a huge success for Marvel, and it gives me a lot of hope for all the Netflix series because
I think critically it's their best success.
Yeah, I think that, it gives me hope that, aka Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the Defenders.
Iron Fist.
I think it gives me so much hope that it'll be great.
Yeah, Iron Fist is whatever. They haven't even released anything about that. Just that they're like Iron Fist is the man. That's all I have to say.
Yeah,
we won't go into detail of that.
He's not cast yet, but they did cast Luke Cage.
Who is it?
I honestly forget his name.
Well, let's look it up.
Yeah, but Daredevil 2 will premiere before the Defenders, so they still have a lot of time to set it up. And AKA Jessica Jones, I think, will be the next release. But it's just Netflix and Marvel. That's like a perfect relationship because they could basically do anything they want.
Mike Coulter.
And like Netflix basically gives free reign to all its series. So that's why Daredevil could be as dark as it was and got away with some of the stuff it got away with.
One thing though about Daredevil that like it's not a complaint, it's just kind of funny. Oh, by the way, before Luke Cage, it's the actor Mike Coulter. I'm looking at an image right now. I feel like I recognize him. I don't know what else he was in, but
yeah, that's something you could look up like yourselves later.
Yeah, but
he looks familiar. But anyway,
but back to
that's beside the point.
Yeah. One thing about Daredevil though that's like funny, it's not a criticism, is that like you'll just like for example you see this guy's head get cut off with a door, like it's awesome, but then like you get like an NYPD cop put out his hands like get on the freaking ground, and it's like you like I've seen a situation where cops pull out their guns and they don't say freaking it's just funny like I don't know. Like when I'm watching the show, I don't realize it because the show's so good. But then, like when you think about it, you're like, no, like he's gonna say fuck. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not a huge difference.
It's
But
yeah,
so yeah, I think with Daredevil, aka Jessica Jones, and the rest of the series, they are supposed to connect into the MCU, much like Agents of Shield does and has, while still being their own things. Like they're not gonna rely so heavily on what happens in the movie side of the universe, like Agents of Shield did on the end of its first season. But now on season 2, it got its own set up itself, and then ended with something that would basically just serve them and not the universe overall right now.
right. And like I feel like that's what's perfect for the TV series because even though it is tied in, I like that they do give them free reign just to be on their own, and like with that's why the DC TV series are so successful right now. I just wish that they would probably tie into the DC movies.
That would be great, but I think that
Excuse me.
like the way Marvel is letting their new series get free reign, that DC shows they can connect any way they want. They can get certain characters. They don't have to worry about developing storylines, especially since the DC movie universe right now has barely been set up. Like Superman versus Batman is gonna set up the future of it. Right now, it's basically just been Man of Steel, and that's about it.
Yeah, that is the only movie. But
like they have their lineup planned, but they haven't really set up anything for it yet.
yeah,
And like Batman vs Superman, they're gonna have Wonder Woman. Apparently, Aquaman's gonna show up. Maybe
oh yeah, Aquaman's in
Cyborg
it.
or something.
They casted Aquaman.
Yeah, I know they cast it, but I don't know if it's gonna be like a cameo or like a quick little thing. Because this movie's not coming out for a while, and I think Wonder Woman's gonna play a little bit of a bigger part. And then apparently they're gonna try and cram Cyborg into it too. Which, I mean, like, that's really thinking far ahead. But, you got to show him.
Yeah, well,
He doesn't have to be Cyborg right away.
Yeah, Cyborg has also gotten way more popular the past, like, 10, like, maybe, like, 8 years in the comics than he's ever been.
Yeah, I think it helps from, like, the Teen Titans Young Justice show. And then from the animated movies, I think he's become really prominent in
Also,
those.
too, when DC relaunched the New 52, which mixed reception there with some comics, like Swamp Thing and Batman was awesome, but with the JLA, or I'm not the JLA, just the regular Justice League, Cyborg was prominent in those comics, and he was really well received. So I think that's really it really comes back to the comics on top of the TV shows too.
Yeah, DC's really trying to set up what Marvel has already done. I mean, they're kind of late to the game, but
Better late than never.
yeah, better late than never. And the DC TV shows have been very well received. Personally, I love Arrow and The Flash. The Flash is amazing. I think The Flash is better than Agents of Shield. While I do like Agents of Shield, I think The Flash, other than Daredevil right now, is the best comic superhero show that they've had in a long ass time.
I promise I'll watch it.
Yeah, you really need to get on that.
Okay.
And any fans of The Flash, if you haven't watched that, get your shit together and watch it because it's absolutely incredible. And every actor on it is just fantastic. Grant Gustin is a great Barry Allen. And then Tom Cavanaugh just fucking kills it. And Leonard Snart also, he plays Captain Cold. He does a great job. I really like his interpretation of it.
That's the dude from Prison Break, right?
Yes, him and Dominic Purcell, actually, his brother in Prison Break, are both in it. Dominic Purcell is Heatwave.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of, on Arrow and The Flash, there's a lot of Prison Break and Spartacus overlap. Like, there's several characters from both of those series that appear in Arrow and The Flash, which is kind of cool. I guess there must be, like, similar producers or something.
Yeah, it's usually like if there's similar people working on it, like it's weird. Like if you look, did you ever see that movie The Mist?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of actors in The Mist are in The Walking Dead.
Really?
And I think there is a correlation within like writer or producers or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
People enjoy working with each other. Is really when it comes down to.
Yeah. Because I know the producers of Arrow and The Flash, Greg Berlanti and Mark Guggenheim, have been involved in a lot of series as either producers, directors, or writers. So that could be, where they got like a hold in them and, just develop relationships like that.
Yeah.
Like Manu Bennett, who was in Spartacus, I believe, it was Deathstroke on Arrow, and he had a pretty prominent part for season 2. And then I forget the actor's name, but I think he was the main actor in Spartacus. I'm not sure, but he plays the real weather wizard in The Flash.
Okay.
So there is a lot of overlap. And then there's going to be even more overlap with Supergirl, like especially because it's by the same producers and writers.
But it's on CBS.
It's on CBS, but that's also Warner Brothers owned. And like DC owns Warner Brothers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or Warner Brother owns DC.
Yeah. Warner Brother owns DC, and they own CBS.
Okay.
Okay. And then, but they're going to have the same producers. Greg Berlanti and Mark Guggenheim are going to be producing it. And the pilot actually leaked. And
did it leak, or was it leaked by them?
It was leaked by somebody. I don't know who, but
because I the more and more I realize I don't know if these leaks are legit.
Yeah, there could be some. They could just secretly leak them, just to get, criticism beforehand, so they can change what they need to change. But like Supergirl doesn't come out till the fall anyway, so they gave themselves, if they did leak it, like a nice 5-6 month
of like, all right, this is what we need to change, like just from fan backlash. I mean, I'm not accusing or anything, but it's just like
it makes sense. I could see why they would do it, whether they did it or not.
I'm not throwing a conspiracy out there. I'm just getting an idea.
Because actually, I think the Flash pilot leaked too, like more than just that like 5-minute pilot intro that they released themselves. I think the Flash pilot leaked too, but that worked out really well for them.
Right.
But there is going to be a crossover between Supergirl, the Flash, and Arrow. They've already confirmed that. There might not be like crossover episodes like the Flash and Arrow had, because it might be difficult to set up.
Yeah.
But they will be acknowledgement and such between the shows.
Okay. And
my opinion of the Supergirl pilot, it was really disappointing, very lackluster. The actress who plays Supergirl, what's her name? Melissa Benoist, I think it is, or Benoit or something. Yeah, she is. I think she fits the Supergirl persona well, especially if you watched Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Great shows.
They are both great shows. She fits the way that Supergirl character is in that show. Like she's happy-go-lucky, kind of ditzy,
but not
overly
like,
excited,
but not dumb either.
Yeah, no, she's not dumb for the sake of being dumb. She is, just a little ditzy and has things confused. But they kind of do really advance Supergirl well throughout the episode. It's just the episode itself is pretty poor. Like they acknowledge Superman in it right off the bat, which I was surprised they did, because the TV universe and movie universe is supposed to be separate. But I mean, they couldn't not acknowledge Superman, given that she's his cousin.
Yeah, it's that would be weird. It's like, oh, like wow, Supergirl, like, and there's no such thing as Superman yet. Like,
and what else they did was they got her. They went through 2 iterations of her costume, but they got it like down. Basically, the female version of the Man of Steel costume.
Okay.
Which it looks pretty good. Not gonna lie, it looks good. It looks as functional as form, instead of just being skimpy as hell and having no use on it.
I like those costumes though.
Yeah, but so it's not just like they don't make her just like a sex object or anything. Like her suit is actually really nice.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's like it's kind of like, it's not like a Mortal Kombat costume.
Yeah.
Like as much as I love being like Molina, like there's no way that outfit works for fighting at all. And like,
no, this is good. And they even have Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl series, which is, I guess they're not going to do him in the next Superman movie and Batman vs Superman, but they have him acknowledging
Right.
Superman and his relationship with him, how they were close and stuff.
Okay. So the Supergirl series takes place like way after Superman lands on Earth. Like,
Yes, it's well after Man of Steel, and the reason for that they explain in the pilot. So you can find the pilot online, but basically, they when they sent Kal-El to Earth or away from Krypton, he was still a baby, but Kara was maybe like 10 years old or something. But her pod got trapped in the Phantom Zone, and time doesn't pass in there. So she basically didn't age, and because of that, when she got to Earth, she was still 10 while Kal-El was getting older. He's probably like, I would say on Earth now, he's probably at least 10 years older than her.
Okay.
So they explain like the difference between the time of her arrival and his, and then like how the age difference came to be.
Right.
And yeah, so there are some overlap between the Flash and Arrow on there.
So I can't remember exactly because there's always different explanations with the comics. Like if there's the one DC animated movie, which is awesome by the way. I think it's just called Doom. No, not Doom.
It's Justice League Doom.
It's Justice League Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where I don't know how they explain how she got older, but she was like either lost in space or something like that. But they didn't explain the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, that's basically. And then if you saw Man of Steel, that's basically where General Zod and his crew got sent.
But they age in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, so I guess they're having it happen in two different ways or something.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't pick up on that or something.
Or it's just the universes will never meet.
Yeah, they could be just interpreting it different.
Right.
But yeah, so that I guess I was disappointed at first that the DC television movies don't fit into the movie universe, but at the same time I like it because it gives them some liberty and just more control over what happens, unlike with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Daredevil where they're...
People love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. though.
Oh no, they do. I like it a lot. It's just...
I don't really like that much.
Well, you know...
It's just... I feel like not enough happens every episode.
Well, did you watch season 2 or just season 1?
Just season 1.
Okay, well, when you watch season 2, it's on Netflix. It starts to pick up. It starts off slow again, but once it finds its footing and establishes itself and its own presence without relying on the MCU, then it really gets to pick itself up. Because season 1, like the first half was like villain of the week.
Yeah.
And then the second half basically took place... I think it was supposed to take place during the events of Winter Soldier, but then that was the rest of the season. So it really had to be all about Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
But with season 2, it actually sets up the Inhumans, which I was surprised about because it was setting it up 4.5 years before the movie even comes out. They actually place a huge role of season 2, especially the back half, on Inhumans.
Okay.
Which is really cool. I mean, obviously you don't see the royal family or anything. You don't see Attilan, like the royal city, but you do see other safe areas, and you meet some Inhumans, some very, very minor ones that you would never recognize in the first place.
Right.
But they do include them a lot, and it makes for an interesting story and builds up the presence of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay. All right, so then I'll catch up on that then.
Yeah. So you don't really need to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. concurrently with the movies. I mean, it kind of helps, especially like it worked out for me because I had been watching that and watching the movies, going to see the movies as they were coming out and watching the show. And I saw, like references and like bits where it intertwined and stuff. Like the Winter Soldier and the invasion of Hydra was obviously just huge, but like there's other smaller things that intertwine with it.
Okay.
So, but they at first were kind of controlled by the movie universe, whereas Daredevil had a little bit more freedom, and I think the freedom works for the television universe on DC, because they really had better control and they don't need to wait for like the
Right.
movie execs to be like, okay, you have to put this in.
Yeah, that is a benefit. Like when you think about it, like I guess like, even though I'm behind, like I guess just hearing about it, it's like, oh, like it's cool that Marvel ties everything together. But then the way you explain it, like the freedom, they don't have to wait for anything. They can literally add whoever they want at any time.
Well, with the characters that are approved.
Yeah, well, right. But I guess that is a bigger benefit.
Yeah, I mean, it works well for Marvel the way they're doing it, but I don't think that DC would be able to make it work, especially right now, because the shows have been, with the exception of Flash, like Arrow had been on for a couple years before Man of Steel even come out. I think it might have, the first season probably came out right before Man of Steel, I think it was.
Yeah,
so it was too late for them to establish.
It was definitely a year before Man of Steel.
Yeah, it was too late for it to establish its connection.
Okay.
So that's why I think separating their universes will work well for DC, but Marvel is doing well with intertwining their movie and TV universe.
Now because there's so much intertwining, now there's just so many like universes, and like they're playing Marvel movies in 2028. How long do you think the Marvel movies will last?
See, that's tough because a lot of like analysts and critics are like, one of their main thing is the Marvel universe getting too big too fast. You know, the MCU is one of the biggest like eras in movie history almost, because they've had so many films already and they have
2008 wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't, and they've had, you know what, like 11 movies since then?
Yeah,
at least
so.
10.
Yeah, at least 10. And yeah, that's 2015. It's the summer 2015. Now, summer 2008 is when Iron Man 1 came out. That's 7 years.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
And like that's not that. Yeah, that's not that long ago.
And they're not slowing down, but some critics are wondering it's getting too big too fast because of how many characters they're introducing, but they have to introduce a lot of characters in order to keep their universe going, because eventually you're going to get bored of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, seeing like, and Hulk, like just those characters, when you want to see more like some fan favorites, like when Scarlet Witch got introduced. A lot of people were happy about that because she is a great character herself in the comics,
right.
And then she plays a huge role later on.
She does, and I don't think it's just going to be Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America movies, especially after Avengers Infinity War Part 2. We're just I want, like, this is what I personally want. I want not those Marvel movies. I want like maybe more Spider-Man. I know they're doing maybe some of the Netflix TV series to have movies themselves, because that by that time I'll even, like, me being a huge comic book nerd and MCU nerd, I would be fatigued. I'm like, all right, like let's just take a break.
Yeah, it does take its toll, especially because like if you're trying to keep up with everything that's happening and like try and figure out what's going to happen next and how it relates to the other things, it does get overbearing.
And that's not really a general public thing too. It's like people who like religiously read comics can do that because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah, and then people who go to see it just because, it's
just
like
to go see a movie,
like they're either, like not understanding of it, or they just don't care enough to understand. They're just like, oh, I just want to see this
like
movie.
There's still people out there that don't realize that, even like that don't realize that they have movies planned for the next like 10 years.
Yeah, they just go, they see the preview on TV and they're like, oh, that looks good.
Cool, and
or
it's
like the last one was good.
I mean, James Bond's been doing it for years, so
yeah,
like,
I think
and they've done it somewhat successfully.
Yeah, and I mean
recently very successfully.
How many different actors play James Bond? So
in
the future, like having Spider-Man be rebooted again kind of sucks, but the way they're doing it is they're going to have him in high school, so they're going to have, once they cast this actor,
which is a great idea,
having him for a long time. But eventually, the main Marvel heroes right now, like Chris Evans, Tony Stark, Mark Ruffalo, they all might move on, and Chris Hemsworth all might move on after their contracts are expired, because their contracts are for a certain number of movies, and like Robert Downey Jr.'s came up, I think, with Iron Man 3, but then he signed on for Avengers 2, then for basically for not leading roles, not solo movies, because he's going to be in Civil War, so he's signed on to do more like team movies.
I think he's going to be done after Avengers Infinity War Part 2.
Yeah, so they'll either introduce a different Iron Man from the comics, or just have, a new Tony Stark, basically.
Yeah, or like just a different actor, like, and then maybe have him put his own spin on it. But then it's going to be weird because it could work out. Like, I keep going back to James Bond, but I mean, like, they would have different James Bonds over the years, but have the same Q, you know. But they would have different villains and like different money pennies and stuff. But it would be weird seeing like, like let's say like Leonardo DiCaprio plays Tony Stark, which would never happen. But just for example,
like
maybe then he's like fighting with Chris Evans again, and it's like, wait, like,
it'd be weird. Just something I found out the other day, or that I found out like previously, but I just remembered the other day, is Tom Cruise was almost Iron Man, except he was one of the front runners for it, except they turned him down, and he kind of turned them down too. It was like a mutual disagreement, because he wanted more money and he wanted his face always shown at all times, like even while he was in the suit, which makes zero sense.
That's garbage.
And I'm really glad that didn't happen, because Robert Downey Jr. is the perfect Tony Stark.
Yeah, he is Tony Stark.
He literally is.
Like,
and
he does great in other movies too. And people who say he's the same actor in every movie has not seen a lot of Robert Downey Jr. movies.
Watch Tropic Thunder.
And watch Chaplin. Yeah. And Natural Born Killers.
And was it Lucky Number 11 or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? I think he's in one of those. I don't remember which one. He's in one of them.
But he's a very versatile actor.
He is. Like, especially in Tropic Thunder, he just
he's a black guy.
Yeah, he's a black guy who's an Australian guy. And yeah, but anyway, the reason he's so good at Tony Stark is because that's him.
Yeah.
And Jon Favreau, when he wrote Iron Man 1, he wrote it for Robert Downey Jr. because he just knew that Robert Downey Jr. would be the best choice, and that has been the best casting in however many years.
Yeah, like that's like you can't get over the great casting choices that they make for these movies. I also just because too, it's not hard. It's, if you really think about it, it's probably not hard to find an actor for a comic book movie, because they're 9 times out of 10 they're successful. Like, the biggest comic book flop I can really think of was and recently was Green Lantern.
Yeah, that was we shouldn't talk about that. No,
we will never bring that up again.
The movies. But you know what? Good for Ryan Reynolds that he's getting Deadpool done the right way, which is he's perfect for that role.
Yeah, I believe so too. And I don't think he was a bad choice for Hal Jordan. That movie just sucked.
Yeah, well, what they did was they started filming before the script was even done. And
they did that with Iron Man too, though.
But they were more successful with Iron Man. But
well, yeah,
that Lantern movie was supposed to be the start of DC universe, and then they had to rely on Man of Steel, which, I mean, it's not bad, but Man of Steel itself flopped. In my opinion,
I like it. I like the beginning of the movie way more than I like the rest of the movie.
That's true.
The beginning of the movie, I remember sitting in the movie theaters, I was like, this is blowing me away right now. And then boom, you're like, oh wow, wait, like, why are we cutting away to so many different spots? Why is IHOP so prominent in this movie? I feel like IHOP was like just as big as a character as freaking Christopher Maloney's character.
Yeah, and then why
I cared about that IHOP getting destroyed.
Why is Superman destroying Metropolis with no care about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what though, many people have said this: Man of Steel is the best Dragon Ball Z movie I've ever seen. And like,
that's a good way to think
it really is. Like, I that is what I want my Dragon Ball Z movie to be, was Man of Steel. So that's why I guess I kind of liked it. And like going back to casting, how good the casting was. Henry Cavill, he he was awesome as Superman. I mean, he just looks like Superman.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a good choice for Superman. I just think that they really didn't give him too much free reign to actually, have some time established as Superman before he got rushed into action.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's definitely some valid points. There's people who hate that movie, and you know what? They're not wrong. But I just liked it. Things that were good about it, I thought were done very well. I think, I don't think Zack Snyder is like the bee's knees.
I completely agree. I think he is an overrated director, and he has just like a gloomy style. Like if you look at all his movies, they all look like they're shot in the same filter.
Yeah, but for some movies it works really well. Like 300, it was awesome.
Perfect for it.
Perfect.
And then, I thought it worked well in Watchmen, but it's not a Superman thing. And you know what? Like
mixed feelings about Watchmen.
It could have been a lot worse. He did have to deal with a lot. But since he's writing and directing Batman vs Superman, I don't think he's a great writer. But I hope Batman vs Superman is great. I really do.
Yeah.
But if it's not, I'm gonna be really pissed if they still keep him as the director for Justice League 1 and 2.
No, they need someone. That's the thing though. Like with those type of movies, it's you're not gonna get like. With comic movies, you're not gonna get like a Quentin Tarantino or like a Scorsese. Like you're not gonna get someone who like knocks out of the park almost every other time.
Yeah. And you know what?
Those directors, you have to like rely on somebody that like loves it, like really loves them.
And it's not even that. Just I think having Zack Snyder just in directing so many movies, you don't get anything refreshing. You don't get anything new from it. Like with every Marvel movie, with the exception of the Avengers and then the two Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then Avenger Infinity War 1 and 2, which is going to be the Russo brothers. Those are the only movies where they had the same returning director.
Yeah.
So like Joss Whedon directed 2 movies. The Russo brothers are going to end up directing 4. But at least between then, there's a big difference, and like different styles, different tones, different.
Yeah, like there is. I like Captain America: Winter Soldier is like a 100% 180 from the first Captain America.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like
everything about it was better.
I honestly watched Captain America 1 not too long ago, and I still like that movie, but I like it.
It looks like shit.
It looks like shit compared to Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier is so good.
The Russo brothers are like they got their start in TV. Like they were a lot of they did several episodes of Community, and I loved them from that. And then they did Winter Soldier. I was like, these are the same guys who directed a comedy show.
That's the thing.
'Cause this is a badass action movie.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I don't know where Marvel finds these people, and because they like I said they had the one guy for the guy that directed the first Thor movie. I forget his. He's like a prominent actor director. He like does like a lot of Shakespearean stuff. You see him in a bunch of movies though. But then they got a guy that directed Game of Thrones episodes for Thor, the Dark World, and Thor: The Dark World was obviously a lot better than Thor 1.
Well, that wasn't hard to do, but yeah, it was.
I still like Thor 1, but Thor 2 is like it's another movie that it's awesome. Like, and it's because they found the right director, and like they've never had a problem finding the right director.
That's right.
So far. I mean, except well, no, the Incredible Hulk was good with Edward Norton. I forget that's part of the MCU.
Yeah, I do too, and that's probably because
it's the weakest movie out of all of them.
That and Edward Norton obviously didn't return.
Yeah,
as Bruce Banner. Oh, and one correction I meant to make: Jon Favreau also directed 2 movies, Iron Man 1 and 2, and they actually originally wanted him to do the first Avengers too, until Joss stepped up from like his producing role and like creative content role. I was like, no, I'll do it.
Yeah, which we're all glad for.
Yeah, but I think that Marvel using different directors works out well because every movie ends up different. But if Zack Snyder directs every movie, like
it's also good. It's almost
major
like
movies, and then especially like the Justice League movies, 2 of them. Like if Batman vs Superman flops, like Man of Steel kind of did, then I think
It
that
didn't
they should
flop
find a new director.
money wise though.
Not money wise, but critically, it was.
Fan wise, yeah, it's very
fan-wise.
mixed.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off the fans.
No, yeah, that's the thing. And you know what's weird though? A lot of fans weren't pissed off at the Green Lantern movie.
I don't understand how that was a terrible movie.
Well, no, it's a terrible movie, but it follows the comics like very faithfully.
That's true, and I mean, like they did their best with the CGI. The CGI at certain parts looked great, and like with.
But then you get like the parallax, which like just looks like diarrhea.
Yeah, but I mean, like for the constructs from the rings, like you can't do that practical, and they did really well with the CGI on that.
Yeah, no, and like and you know what, I want a successful Green Lantern movie more than I want anything, just because I love Green Lantern. But, yeah, that movie blew a lot.
Yeah.
But going back to the MCU, it's another thing too. Like I like when they have so many different directors because then you really find out the ones that have the best talent. The Russo brothers, for example, knocked it out of the park with Winter Soldier. So it's like, all right. So out of all these directors we've had, you know, let's look at the strongest movie, and there we go. And Joss Whedon pretty much quit.
Yeah, he just had enough. Basically.
Yeah, which you know what.
I get it. You know, he wants to do something original. He said
he wants to direct a DC movie. He said.
Well, he was originally going to write and direct a Wonder Woman movie, like a bunch of years ago.
But he signed a contract because he couldn't, right, or something like that, because he with Marvel.
The talks just fell apart.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, like this was before he got heavily involved in Marvel. Yeah, this is probably like early 2000s, before the MCU became a thought, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, you know, even with different directors, like especially for like when it comes that lead up to team up movies, like different directors will teach the actors in their basically they kind of serve as prequels to like major team ups almost, or like setup movies. Like those directors will get something different from those actors that they can put towards the next movie with a different director. But like if you keep the same director for, you know, all the major ones with like no buffer in between. You know, it's just going to be like the same, probably bland, or just there's not going to be any difference in performance.
Yeah, no. And like that's the one thing. That's what Batman vs Superman. It's kind of like the same problems with Man of Steel going to happen in Batman vs Superman. Probably.
I think Batman vs Superman is the most crucial step DC will need to take because it sets up almost everything coming after that. And if it does poorly, it's not going to bode well for the DCU.
It's not. And, like, you know what it is, too? It's like, that should be the biggest comic book movie of all time.
It really is. I mean,
it should be, but it's not.
You think about it. It's DC's two biggest well-known heroes. The comic series of it is...
Two biggest well-known heroes of all time.
Yeah, all time. It is... in the comics, it just kicks ass. Like, it's so... good.
It's so good, and it makes the most sense because people will say, "Oh, Superman can kill blah blah blah," but you don't understand. You don't understand Batman.
Yeah.
People who are listening to this right now, which is probably like two. Batman has a contingency plan. That's his superpower.
For everything.
For
if you ever watched, I think it was either the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited. It was one of them. Batman's contingency plan for if he ever needed to take down the rest of the Justice League, he had like a plan for every single hero. Oh yeah, it was Doom.
Yeah.
He had a plan to take down all of them if he ever needed to.
Think about it.
Which is like so Batman. Like he's thinking a million steps ahead.
If Batman had to fight Dracula, he'd put garlic knots in his boxing gloves before he even got in the ring. And for those of you who don't know vampire weaknesses, vampires don't like garlic. But like, or he would put, you know what? He would put crosses in his boxing gloves. He would put something in his boxing
crosses.
Yeah, garlic clove crosses in his boxing gloves.
But yeah, Batman is always thinking like a million steps ahead, and they show that better in the animated movies than they have in like the Dark Knight trilogy.
I feel like with
which
a lot of
I
stuff
guess they have because they had more time to do it.
Yeah,
but even like the animated movies for DC, he still is always like a million steps ahead and basically knows everything.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's why Batman. That's I mean, like you read the Dark Knight Returns, the Dark Knight Strikes Again, which is a sequel to the Dark Knight Returns, written by Frank Miller. This one's also written by Frank Miller. Not as good as Dark Knight as the first one though. Superman like flies into his Batcave and like has to fight off a bunch of stuff, and Batman literally has like kryptonite boxing gloves.
Oh yeah,
and beats the shit out of Superman.
He has it made
and
up.
He goes, get out of my cave.
Yeah.
Now, like, so like, if
who knows how Batman got that kryptonite, but he had it and he had it ready.
Well, you can reproduce kryptonite, at least in the comics.
He probably did it himself.
Yeah,
yeah, it's true.
People like Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne can do that.
Yeah, they're geniuses with a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
Do it. But yeah, like Batman is basically the smartest character in DC and one of the smartest ones of all time.
That's the Batman I want too.
Yeah.
From in this movie, because every Batman in every movie, even though he's been like really cool, it's been for the most part has been done well. It's not like the IQ of like 300 Batman.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not comic book Batman or like Batman the Animated Series Batman, who has everything like planned out like 1,000 steps ahead.
Yeah.
He kind of, in like Christopher Nolan's trilogy, is constantly getting the rug pulled out from under him and like not expecting almost everything.
Yeah, he's grounded and like even like and that's not a knock against the old Nolan movies. They're great, except for Dark Knight Rises. The first two are great movies. But like you do get a sense of like him being flawed in a
Very
way.
flawed.
Yeah, in a way that's very human.
But that could have been intentional. I think that was more intentional.
That was intentional, and that's fine. That's why there's nothing wrong with it. But the Batman we grew up reading and seeing was a Batman flawed in a way of his flaws.
Isolation.
Yeah, his flaws are in isolation because of who he is, and you get that sense in the Nolan movies too. But not really as much. He's not really isolated because he still has friends.
The reason that Batman tends to be isolated is because with all his sidekicks, like he basically will randomly shove them off and won't bring them on certain missions if he just really wants to do it himself and stuff.
They don't even have like with the Zack Snyder Batman comics that were written the past couple years for the New 52. If there's like certain nods of like you see like Damian Wayne Robin, like Nightwing and like they say like access level high,
Yeah.
but then you get like Alfred like access level maximum. Like that's the only person he trusts 100% is Alfred. So it's like even the people around him that have fought by his side and fought crime with him, not 100% trusting.
Yeah, and even that, and he tries to protect them by leaving them out of things. Like even Dick Grayson, who is probably the best Robin, and I think he's a fantastic Nightwing.
Yeah.
Like even when he's grown up, he like keeps him out of shit all the time.
Yeah, I'd be pissed off, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's why he moved to Bloodhaven, I guess.
Yeah.
One reason.
It's kind of like, I don't know.
Oh, by the way, if you want to see a good movie with Damian Wayne in it, watch Batman vs. Robin. It came out earlier this year. It's pretty badass. I mean, like, they do mess up certain parts, but it's...
Not the George Clooney one.
No, not... It's an animated one, Batman vs. Robin.
Not and. Verse,
yes.
We just don't want people looking up the wrong movie. What
Yeah,
the fuck? Pat, show me this movie.
Yeah, but yeah, it's good. I mean, it has its flaws, but it's a good storyline. And then even if you watch Son of Batman, another animated movie, it features Damian Wayne, and it's really good also. But I gotta like, this is my opinion. The DC live-action universe will never be as good as the DC animated movies.
No, that's. I feel like most people would agree with that. The DC animated movies. It's kind of
unfair to say, but it's just they're so good.
Marvel could have been that good, and they just
Marvel animated movies suck. Well, they're not. Some of them are pretty bad.
Well, yeah, some of them are pretty bad, but Marvel could have been good. Have you ever seen Hulkverse?
Yes, that's
Hulk
good.
vs. Ford, Hulk vs. Wolverine. Not very strong story-wise, but a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And
but you know what? That's fine because they make all their live-action movies great.
Yeah, And
while DC was behind in their live-action, they were establishing their animated presence, which they are really, really good ones. I mean, sure, there are some clunkers, but there are some that are just so good. Like especially the Justice League team-up movies that they have, and then Flashpoint. Flashpoint is, if you're a fan of The Flash, like a diehard fan, the Flashpoint movie is absolutely incredible, and you need to watch it, and you will be so happy that you did.
Is it on Netflix, Patrick?
I don't think it's on Netflix, but it's the internet. You can find it places.
That's true. The internet gives you everything you want.
Not that I condone piracy or anything, but it's on the internet.
You should look for it legally, but if you can,
I think it's on Amazon streaming. I think it's like $3 there, but just be resourceful if you don't want to spend $3.
well, that's how we'll put it. Be resourceful. No, yeah, but I want the DCU, the DC. I guess it's DCCU, DC Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I want. By the way, Pat's background to his phone is Ron Swanson and
As Drax the Destroyer.
as Drax the Destroyer.
With his own comic cover.
Yeah, and it's probably the most manly thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so manly that I forgot exactly why I'm on the ass. I think what I was going to say is, okay, yeah, now I remember. I want the DCCU to be just as good as the Marvel MCU.
Yeah, I do too.
But
I mean, that'd be great, especially for comic fans. Like, they'd be going nuts. And you know what?
Because long gone are the days of I only do DC, I only do Marvel.
Like, there are still certain people like that, and that's fine. You like what you like, and like if you're not huge on Marvel and you're really huge on DC, then you really want this to be successful.
Yeah, like I've always been a more Marvel guy, me personally, but like I tell you what, man, some of the DC comics they shit on the Marvel comics.
Oh, without a doubt,
like bad, and like it's just like Swamp Thing was amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
And you know what? Like, while the New 52 is kind of has mixed opinions, there are some really good storylines in it.
Yeah.
It just really depends on like the superhero that you're
like.
reading,
Unfortunately,
basically.
Superman was really not well received during the New 52.
In my opinion, I think the Flash New 52 is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that was really good. I still have some of those comics actually. Like what they did with Captain Cold in the New 52 was awesome.
Very good.
It was really good. How you just shoot the powers out of his
Yeah.
hands and stuff. Like it was kind of like about time. Like it
Yeah.
made sense because like some guy with a gun going, but like he needed a superpower.
Yeah, in the Flash TV show, he does use a gun, but that was built by Cisco Ramon, who is Vibe in the comics,
Okay.
which apparently we'll see in season 2, along with, what's her name? I can't remember her name, but the villain that Caitlin Snow becomes.
Okay. I can't remember.
I don't know why it's anyway. But yeah, I think the Flash has done well, and for the Flash TV show, they have a really great rogues gallery, and they're gonna expand it. And yes, you do see the Reverse Flash in season 1, and it was fucking great.
I'll catch up. I promise.
Good. I've been bothering Connor about it for a while, but
For a few months.
But I know, like, since he's as big a Flash fan as I am, he's really missing out and will, like, kick himself in the ass for not watching it sooner.
Yeah.
And, I probably annoying about it, but just fucking watch it.
No, you know what it is? It's like I'm spoiled. I don't like to wait. I mean, I was the type of kid on Christmas that always would look at his gifts before Christmas. Like I remember I beat Mario Kart DS and got all the levels before Christmas even started, and then I opened it at Christmas and never played it. So I like to watch a series like when it's like almost done.
Well, the good thing is now you can watch it all at once.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do that. But then when season 2 rolls around, I'm like,
But
fuck,
listen,
now I have to wait,
It was worth waiting week to week because it left you with like a really good level of anticipation that will pay off.
Okay.
And like especially like the mid-season finale, that had me like itching for like a new episode. I mean, it was only off air for like 2 months, but the way they ended it was just like, oh fuck, I need this right now. It's like getting
crack.
addicted to heroin.
Okay.
Not literally, but
Maybe literally. We could be high on heroin right now. Well, Pat is. But
Absolutely.
no, yeah, it's just like it's so like, for the amount of information we have on both universes, the future is so unknown still. Like
they there is so much potential for them to do well.
Yeah.
And I wish that they will. I hope that they will, like Marvel, will continue to do well. And I hope DC finds success in it. Because there's just so much potential and so many great characters that they have planned.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like there's a really cool DC superhero that like I would want them to make maybe like a TV show Metamorpho. You ever hear of him?
No, I'm not really too familiar with them.
Justice League. Remember the episode where I forget what it was, where like the girl and the guy are like trying to get together, and the guy's like the head of this chemical company. And then it's a guy that can like shoot different elements out of his body.
Oh, okay.
Looks scaly. He's like multicolored. Yeah. That guy is sick. And like I don't read a lot of the comics and stuff like that, but his powers are like interesting.
Yeah.
So like I would want DC to be successful enough to where they can get kind of like those superheroes that aren't as popular and try to make them popular, like what Marvel does with like Iron Fist and Daredevil.
That's kind of
Luke
what
Cage.
happened with Arrow. Like Green Arrow, like for most people, is not a huge like character. I mean, he's very important, but like
he's kind of like the Chick-fil-A of comic book characters. Like he's
True.
big, but like there's not a lot of them. Like
that's a great analogy. Yeah, but once they made Arrow, like his sales of Green Arrow comics like increased. I mean, it's not like Green Arrow was doing bad, but you know, for like casual readers, like
he
Green
was
Arrow
big in the 70s
major.
and 80s because he was like he would team up with Green Lantern all the time. But I mean, we weren't alive, so I didn't know that until like Green Arrow became popular again.
And one of the like major criticisms Green Arrow gets is that it's basically Batman except with a bow and arrow. But I think the show does
so. That's
yeah,
cool.
exactly. That's so great.
That proves that money is the best superpower.
It is. I mean, look at Iron Man too. You know.
Yeah. If someone asked me like Connor, what superpower do you want? I would say I want to be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Like that's not a superpower. Yes, it is. It is a superpower.
I can make it a superpower.
I can make it a superpower. I can get anything I want. There's over how many billionaires are there in this world? Like 500 something.
Way too many.
And none of them are like vigilantes.
Like Bill Gates could definitely make an Iron Man suit.
Oh, absolutely. It might take him like a few years, but he could do it.
Maybe he already has one being built right now, and he just hasn't, released it yet.
I would steal it.
Yeah. And then his billions.
The NSA is like keeping this podcast now. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I guess we'll stop here for today. Like I said, we'll try to release it weekly if we can.